The Minnesota Vikings win 21-17 today with the patchwork offensive line who played pretty well. When the Vikings needed plays, people made plays. Jordan Addison made plays. Carson Wentz made the throws. When we needed to get stops, we got stops. But let's keep it real. This game could have gone either way, but good teams find a way to win. And that's what the Minnesota Vikings did today. Let's talk about it on the UP postgame show.
Powered by Riverside FM.
As I told you, Minnesota Viking fans, stay calm, that the Minnesota Vikings would find a way to pull this game out and the Cleveland Browns would find a way to give the game to the Minnesota Vikings. I was pretty close on the score. Score happened to be 21-17. I thought the score would be about 23-13. Lots of stuff to unpack, lots of things to talk about. But the most important thing is that the Minnesota Vikings found a way to pull it out today against the Cleveland Browns. Much needed win going into the bye. Lots of good things to talk about. Still some frustrating things to talk about. But first of all, let's start with the offensive line, man. Everybody was the microscope, the magnifying glass, whatever you want to call it, was on the Minnesota Vikings offensive line today. And I thought they put it together pretty well. I thought when they were determined to run, they had a pretty good running game today. I thought KOC incorporated a lot of quick screens, some bubble screens, a lot of misdirection stuff, bootlegs, to the short side of the field, incorporated some bootlegs to the wide side of the field. I thought for the game plan that KOC put together on the offensive side of the ball, man, I thought the offensive line did an admirable job. I didn't think that they would do that well, but hats off to the Minnesota Vikings offensive line. And when you look at this game, man, I'm really proud of the Vikes because you have a lot of adversity. You have a lot of injuries permeating through that team. Who knows, other than the coaches, the vibe that's in that locker room, man. And for most of this game, the Cleveland Browns had a handle on it. And then in key moments, the momentum just really started to swing, like in terms of testing our team and to really ask what type of resolve that we have. Man, this was a test of patience and toughness by the Minnesota Vikings. And despite through all the adversity that we talked about all week long that's going on with this team, I thought the locker room held steady. Man, I mentioned the offensive line played through injuries. I mean, they answered really every doubt that we had during last week's chaos. I don't think anybody expected them to play lights out. But the Minnesota Vikings offensive line played pretty well today. Carson Wentz wasn't a superstar, but he was steady. 25 of 34, 236 yards, 1 touchdown. More importantly, no turnovers. I thought he took a couple of sacks that he shouldn't have taken, man. But I'm going to tell you this about Carson Wentz. I think this is where Carson Wentz is in his career. There's been so much made about bonehead plays, turnovers, throwing the key interceptions in key moments, that I think he's flipped this to the other side of the coin. Like I don't think he wants to make the big mistake anymore. As we mentioned when he got the starting job, that this is probably his last shot at being something in the NFL. So I don't think he wants to go out being this turnover-prone quarterback. So he's a little bit hesitant. And I think, honestly, he's willing to eat some of those balls rather than throw them into harm's way and get the ball picked off. I'm going to tell you another thing about Carson Wentz, UP Nation, Purple Gang Skull Nation. The dude is tough. He took a helmet straight to the shoulder. I wouldn't be surprised if he has some sort of slight separation in his left shoulder. Obviously, it wasn't his throwing shoulder, but I think Carson Wentz was pretty hurt. He didn't have the twerk that he usually has on his balls. And when you don't have that, when you're not able to twerk your body into some throws, those throws come out a little bit light, a little bit slow. I thought he toughed it out. It made some plays. No flashy plays, but took command of that last drive, got us down the field, threw a couple of beautiful passes to Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison found a way to get into the end zone. I thought Carson Wentz down the stretch played well. Again, pretty good stats, solid stats. I think he's a little bit banged up. Obviously, this bye week is going to be important. Do you come back with JJ McCarthy if he's healthy? Do you come back with Carson Wentz? It's going to be interesting to see what happens. We had a lot of missed opportunities early, and it seemed like the offense started off well, but then it got to the point where we were just out of rhythm. We had a couple of, as Kevin O'Connell would call them, self-inflicted. I mean, the great thing about, and I'm always trying to find silver linings in this, the great thing about the game is that we didn't get any delay of game penalties. Getting the call on the field, snapping the ball and going, but we're still getting a lot of these when drives are going well, these holding calls, these false start calls. Kevin O'Connell calls them self-inflicted. Man, those things just don't seem to be improving themselves. I will say this, I give the offensive line a little bit of slack in that because we just had guys like Huber making his first start, not having a lot of playing time in the NFL. It takes some time to get acclimated to the league. So I guess if you're patchworking an offensive line, I guess you got to take the good with the bad, the penalties and the turnovers. Jordan Mason, is that becoming an issue? It's fumbling the football becoming an issue for Jordan Mason. Sometimes I look at some of these fumbles in the league, and I don't necessarily put it on the running back. I put it on the defensive person, lineman, linebacker, cornerback, what have you. They're making plays. And now it's obviously taught for people to be able to punch the ball out. And if you're running full speed and somebody gets a good fist on the ball, I don't know how you don't fumble that thing. I would like to talk to a football coach in terms of technique. How are you teaching to defend against the punch out? Jordan Mason, his one fumble was not a punch out. He had it in the pocket. He got sandwich hit and the ball just came out. So you can't have the excuse of it being a punch out. But that's 2 weeks in a row where he's fumbled the football in key situations. Is he a fumbler? Like, did he have fumbling problems in San Francisco? I don't remember him having fumbling problems in San Francisco, but it seems like it's starting to rear its ugly head with the Minnesota Vikings. The team's biggest opponent right now, in my opinion, is consistency. We keep saying we have a good roster. This is a good team. The record is not indicative of who we are. I think it may be because right now we're a team that can make some plays. We are a team that's going to have a lot of penalties. We are a team that's going to give up some sacks. I mean, this is who we are after 5 games of football. So on paper, yeah, we have the talent. But if we can't start to shrink some of these self-inflicted errors and turnovers and penalties, what type of team can we be? If you're analyzing the Minnesota Vikings, I thought the defense again kept us in games. I thought Quinshon Judkins had a great day running. Allen and Hargrave, man, I don't know whether or not we were sold the bill of goods on them because they are not performing. Hargrave had a nice tackle late in the game to get a stop on Judkins, man. But those two guys are not producing what their contracts tell me they should produce. So I wonder, when they left the San Francisco 49ers and the Washington Commanders, respectively, it's like, why didn't these teams have a sense of urgency of keeping those two? Maybe this is why. Like, they have just not been able to stop the run consistently. And their production is definitely not what we thought it would be. Redmond, LDR, those guys are producing. I mean, if you just give it the eye test, those guys are outproducing Allen and Hargrave. And again, don't get me wrong, I'm not in bed with, hey, we should start LDR and we should give Redmond all this. I'm just saying right now the optics is that our second string guys are outperforming our first string guys in Allen and Hargrave. I mean, LDR and those boys are playing some great football in the middle. I think Quinshawn Junkins, nice looking rookie, had his moments, but I think LDR and Redmond are playing really, really good football. But is Hargrave and Allen, man, is that becoming a concern? Is that becoming an issue that they're not producing like we thought they would? Man, another area of concern, Harrison the Hitman, um, didn't get a lot of snaps today. Again, they're trying to ramp him up. He was out there. I saw him out there on a few plays. Are we concerned about Harrison Smith, that this is all that we're going to get from Harrison Smith this year? Or are they going to ramp him up where he's on the field for about 80% of the plays? Or is that gone, whatever his illness is? But I just noticed that he was suited up. I know he got in on a few plays. I saw him out there. I saw him out there on a couple of tackles. But the fact that he's not playing the minutes is that an area of concern. Man, this is a game that could have gone either way. And the one thing that I was surprised about, one thing I talked about in earlier videos, is I thought that the Minnesota Vikings would get to Dillon Gabriel a little bit more, rattle him a little bit more. Hats off to Dillon Gabriel. Like, I didn't think he was rattled at all. I thought he showed a lot of poise. He had some key missed throws down the stretch of that game, which for a rookie quarterback in those type of situations, I figured that he would. He didn't seem overly confused about what he saw at the line of scrimmage from the Minnesota Vikings. I thought the Minnesota Vikings got to him a couple times, were able to get some sacks, were able to rush some of his throws. So I expected that. But if I am Kevin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns, I like what I saw out of my quarterback today in terms of Dillon Gabriel. Can he keep that up and be consistent? I don't know. But the great thing about the Minnesota Vikings is now we give ourselves a chance to make the playoffs. And I know we're 3-2, and I think even 3-2 is going to be really hard. I mean, you're going to have to look hard to see on the schedule what games we can win. But I thought with all the adversity that the Minnesota Vikings had this week, they came out, put together a good, solid game, and won. We're very fortunate to win. Now they can hop on a plane, come back home, utilize that bye week. And here's the deal. I know this is what we're going to hear because we heard it the last couple of years when the Vikings have entered the bye week. This is the week where they do a lot of self-scouting. You know, if they were going up against the Minnesota Vikings, you know, how would they attack the defense? How would they attack the offense? The Minnesota Vikings, they have to, the first place they need to start is at the quarterback position and getting that offensive line healthy. I thought KOC early in this game, I've been really critical of his play calling. I thought the early part of this game, KOC was in his bag, man. There was just a lot of screens. There was a lot of quick throws. There was a lot of misdirection throws. Obviously, the Wildcat with Cam Akers to Oliver, nice play. I thought it was some of the best combination of run-pass plays that I have seen from Kevin O'Connell in a lot of years. And then it got to the middle of the game, and then we start going back to what we normally do with the 5-6 step drops, 15-yard routes down the field. Again, having a offensive line that you know is questionable coming to the game, although they played a good game. You just don't want to put your offensive line in those type of positions. But again, Kevin O'Connell went right back to that, and I expected him to do that. I tell you guys, there's just a level of comfort with some coaches. He is comfortable with that vertical game and calling that vertical game. So I don't think you're ever going to see an abundant amount of quick throw stuff for the majority of a game from Kevin O'Connell. I think that we can just really, really forget about that being the look of the Minnesota Vikings. I think it's going to be there at times like it was today. And I thought KOC did a really, really good job. But when we started to stall is when we started to revert back to looking down the field, longer routes, Carson Wentz having to try to scramble or taking those sacks. And I just think that type of philosophy puts the Minnesota Vikings in bad situations, man. I didn't think the defense played stellar today. Obviously, Quinshon Junkins had a day running the ball, but as always, I think B-Flow defense gave us an opportunity to win the football game. Has always kept us in it for the offense to be able to make some plays at the end of the game and then be able to score at the end of the game and seal the win. Man, I know we've got to get healthy, and I think that's a big part of it. So I'm going to wait to get Gink back. I'm going to wait to get, all the pieces that we are missing back, Blake Cashman and the boys. I just don't like our run defense now. I think we're a little soft up the middle on that offensive line when Hargrave and Allen is in the game. A little bit concerning for me. But again, man, just really, really glad to get the dub. Like the Vikings didn't dominate, but they endured, man. And sometimes you just need to win games like that. To win games like this keeps you in line to be able to turn your season around and to make something happen. We're only going to get healthier. I would think we can't be any more injured. We're going to have J.J. McCarthy coming back, getting more healthy. We're going to have all of our offensive linemen possibly coming back, getting healthy. We're going to get more healthy on the defensive side of the ball, barring, we don't have any more major injuries. I'm going to knock on wood with that. What do you think, man? Is this team finding its identity right now? Were we lucky today? Did we handle our business in terms of our resolve for this game? Like, put your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts, UP Nation, about this football game, man. I told everybody to breathe, but I ain't gonna even lie. I was a little worried going down the stretch. I knew the Browns would find a way to help us to get this game at some point, whether it was a bad play call from Kevin Stefanski, a turnover, a fumble, something. They were going to find a way to give us an opportunity to win this game, and they did. Hats off to the Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores, and the rest of the coaching staff finding a way to win this game. It would have been a long bye week. It would have been a lot of talkers, a lot of people being upset, possibly jumping off the bandwagon if the Minnesota Vikings would have lost this game. But we're very fortunate enough to win, so we will take it. And I'm sure the Minnesota Vikings will take it. This has been Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, UP Nation, Purple Gang, Skull Nation, we will see ya when we see ya. Skull.